Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're over here at Podium. We're super excited to be able to share this content with you. We're very grateful to the Ohio Trucking Association for giving us this time to kind of talk about how you can be managing your online presence and making sure that you're getting new online reviews for your service. It's something that a lot of people have figured out, that online reviews are increasingly more important. They affect how you're found online. They not only are the way people choose you, but they're just also the way people find you. So we'll get straight into it. So today's title is Stand Out in the Crowd, How Online Reviews Can Help You Gain New Customers. Now, a few housekeeping items before we get started. We will be taking questions at the end of the webinar during a Q&A section. However, we might be going through a lot of this content. There's a lot there. You could have a question at any time, and we don't really want you to forget those questions. So if at any time you have a question, you can go ahead and type those in. The way you can do that is by going into the GoToWebinar control panel. It's usually at the top right part of your screen, and there's a question section. You can go and just type those in and then send those in to me. I'll read those as they come in and make sure we can answer all your questions. If we have too many, and that happens all the time, we're not able to get to your questions today, I mean, we all have things to do, I'll follow up with you one-to-one and make sure that we can answer your questions for you. If you have trouble hearing me at all, or you hear it cut out later in the presentation, a good trick is always to just switch between either the computer audio or your phone, or dialing in on a phone call. The phone call tends to be a little bit more reliable because usually the audio problems will be because of like a spotty Wi-Fi connection or something like that. So my name is Taylor Cutler. I do digital marketing here at Podium. I spend all my time every single day trying to figure out how I can get more people in the door. How can I make our website more present? How can I make sure people searching for us can find us, right? And we do that a lot for a lot of industries. I've worked in pretty much any industry you can find. My father owns a very industrial type business, so it's completely different than a tech company like I work for now. And so I've had a lot of experience helping, lots of different businesses with their online presence. So hopefully there's something I can talk about today that will land and hit home for you guys. Another thing is that, the webinars that we give here at Podium aren't meant to be thought of as like, oh yeah, that's a nice thing at a high level I can do. Maybe if I had this or that, that's something I could do. But rather, the things I'm going to talk about today are things that I want you guys to be able to execute today, right? These aren't just things that are nice to think about. These are things that are very actionable, and you guys can, after listening to this webinar, implement at your business today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today, let's just go over the agenda a little bit. So we'll talk about how organic search differs from local search and kind of explain the differences there for you. Why micro moments and near me searches are important. The top tips and tricks for boosting your local SEO, and that's going to be heavily and a lot more important than anything else for moving and storage companies. And then the impact online reviews have on that buyer's journey. So let's talk about how we can put your business on your map. So we talked about there's a difference between organic and local search. So let's dive into each one of those. What's just organic search? So Google, right? So if somebody goes online, and a lot of times they're going to be using, a Chrome, Google browser. They're not even going to be using, Internet Explorer or Safari. They might be using a Chrome browser. They don't even have to go to Google's website anymore to be able to do a Google search, right? The other thing is a good percentage of Americans, and actually more people in the world than others, use Android devices rather than iPhones, right? And a lot of people who have iPhones also have the ability to do Google searches right from their iPhone. Now, if you're on an Android device, most of the time you don't even have to pull up a browser. You can just start typing in anything right then and there. And so why is that important? Well, the reason why that's important is because an organic search term is when somebody's going to go onto their desktop and do a search like, how to move to Ohio, how to move to Tennessee from Ohio, and things like that, right? And the results they'll pull up when they do that organic search are going to be things that are very general, right? It might be a Wikipedia page telling them information about Tennessee, about different ways to move, their houses and different techniques they can use. A local search is completely different. It's based more on location signals than just the relevance of search terms. So for example, if I was looking for a moving company to help me and my family make the trek from Ohio to Utah, I would search for moving companies near me or best moving and storage companies in my area, right? And then maybe I'd even type in the specific city I'm in. And the reason that's important is because those searches are going to be done on mobile devices, and those are the things that you want to pull up as a business to be able to get used by these different people. These aren't things that you're going to want to pull up on a general organic search term. You want to really be focusing on this local search because that's how people are going to find you. Like I said, people are doing this from their phone. And why are they doing this on their phone? Because it's a lot more convenient, right? Local search favors convenience over loyalty. People today, this is a convenience economy. Why do you think Amazon's so huge? People didn't have loyalty from Amazon. They weren't told by their parents, hey, there's this great site I've been using for years. It's called Amazon. Go on there and we'll get you set up with the best, this or that. Like you'd hear for other companies, right, with people being loyal to a specific brand or company. No, people are using Amazon and sites like this because it's a lot more convenient than anything else. It's a lot more convenient than having to play phone tag with somebody to set an appointment, right? It's a lot easier than physically typing in information or going to a place, physical location, and having to drive there. It's a lot more convenient. So that's why local SEO is so important, because the people that favor this convenience are going to be doing these searches on their phone. 72% of U.S. adults own a smartphone. That stat has gone up since then. 2/3 of smartphone users are more likely to purchase from companies whose mobile sites are customized information to their location. So that's why you also need to be optimized for this local SEO. So local smartphone searches lead to in-person visits. 76% of people who conduct a local search on their smartphone visit a physical place within 24 hours. 28% related to a purchase. So that's an insane stat. That means 76% of people who go on their phone and type in, best moving company near me, best moving company in Akron, Ohio, anything like that, those searches, those relevant local search terms, 76% of people have high intent actually to go in and do something, right? That's because the way consumers find your business is changing. Like I've been saying, it's increasingly mobile. People aren't going home and logging on a desktop to find your business. I mean, they sometimes are, right? If they're at home late at night and they're actually on their computer for something else. But if they just have, a thought right then and there in their mind, they're just doing it on their phone. And that's what Google has coined the term micro moments. Micro moments are when somebody has the intent right then and there. It's right when they need something in that specific moment to be able to find. And you need to make sure that when they do that search that your business is pulling up. And I know this might be something you're thinking, maybe if I had a marketing person to be able to, handle all these things, I could be making sure that I'm optimized for local SEO. And yes, that would help, having somebody, doing all your marketing for you, but it's actually not as hard as you might think. So how can you be there when your customers need you most, right? How can you make sure that you pull up when you do these local searches, right? How can I pull up for best or any moving or storage company near me search? So first thing you need to do is you need to go claim your Google My Business page. So what's a Google My Business page first off? Your Google My Business page is the listing that pulls up when somebody does a search, a Google search for your business. So if I type in, ABC moving company and whatever my city is, or if it's just a single location, that's what you'll see on the right side of the Google page pull up, and it'll have the 4 different buttons you can click. You can either go to their website, you can click on directions, or you can click on the map, right? Or you can click on the phone button to give them a call, right? That's what your Google My Business page is. So you need to make sure first that that's set up. Now you might notice if you search your business right now on Google, I'm sure a lot of you have already set this up, but if you might notice if you go search your business right now, that'll pull up, and you might not have even set that up on your own, so you're wondering how it's there. Well, Google will automatically do this for businesses that it knows exists, right? And a lot of people that don't even own your business can help set that up right off the bat. But the main reason it's super important you claim that business listing It's because you're going to be able to pipe in your information into it so that if people click on that they go where you want them to, right? So you want to make sure you add in your phone number. You want to make sure that they're able to go to the right website and that you have correct information like hours, everything like that. So to how to do that, right? You see these steps. All you need to do is just search for your business on Google, and then you can click on claim your business page. You need to make sure you're signed into your personal Google account, right? Or if you have a specific G Suite account for your business, it'd be better to be logged into that to keep that separate from some of your personal stuff. And then navigate to Google My Business, search for your business using its name or address, and then you can confirm that that's all correct information. And then Google will actually send you a verification way to make sure that you're actually a physical, brick and mortar location if you have one of those by sending up like a postcard. You can also do that for a few different other ways, like they can send you an email, they can give you a phone call, and things like that. Now, it's really important that on your online listings, whether it's on Google or Facebook or any other site, they have very consistent information. So that we call that SNAP information, name, address, and phone number. The reason why is because that affects your local SEO a lot, making sure that if you have your address down and let's say it's 123 South Fake Street, right? That South is either spelled out on every single listing or it's just a capital S with a period in every single listing. It needs to be the exact same. You need to make sure you have the same phone number on all of your listings for that same location, because again, that can affect your local SEO. And here's some other quick tips of just other ways that you can optimize your directory listings. I won't go a ton into this, but simply things like making sure you have the accurate information, uploading photos. Photos are huge. I'll talk about that in a little bit more. But again, if any of this seems like I'm going too fast or anything like that, don't worry. We'll make sure we'll get the slides out to you afterwards so you can go through this again. Now, uploading high quality photos, that was one of the things in the last slide. Profiles, so Google My Business specifically, profiles with pictures see 35% more click-throughs than businesses that don't. So that's why it's so important they have those photos on there, right? Because if people see them, it's just more likely that they're going to click on that, and what it clicks equal more business, right? So making sure that you're taking high quality photos. Most phones these days, if you have an iPhone or whatever, a lot of times they're good enough, honestly, of a high quality photo. If you have a friend or your wife or whoever that has a nice camera, they can take pictures of your business and make it look good, even better, right? Now, the thing that I really want to get into, because this is going to affect your local SEO and a lot of other things more than anything, is that you need to be collecting and managing your online reviews, right? Online reviews make up the majority of whether you're pulling up in those local searches, right? So if somebody's typing in, moving companies near me or whatever, your online reviews are heavily going to affect whether you pull up, right? And they also just build trust and loyalty with your customers, right? If people know, if they go on and see that you have a good star rating, obviously they're going to know that you're a better business than somebody has a lot of bad, a bad rating. It's pretty obvious, but again, it's something that people don't do more than you think. So how exactly do online reviews impact local search ranking? So this is how Google determines that local search ranking. So the first thing is relevance, right? So making sure that, whatever the person types in is pulling up information that's relevant to that, and that's pretty obvious. So if they're, typing in moving companies near me or whatever, that's pulling up moving companies near them, right? That's not pulling up moving companies in a different state or whatever like that, right? The next thing is distance. So how close is your business to that searcher? And that's become more and more important just because of the fact that people are doing these searches on their mobile devices, right? When they're out and about and ready to go. When they might be at work, for example, and think, I need to figure out how I'm going to move my family to the next state or even just down the street. And they'll do that on their phone. They're probably not going to do that somewhere else. And that's something you can't really, you can't change how close your business is to people. So that's something that you can't really affect, but that's part of how Google determines your local search ranking. And the last thing is prominence, right? How prominent is your business in the offline world? Are people coming in and out? People get a little freaked out by this, but most people will have their location tracking on their Android device, right? So Google knows how many people are going in and out of the business. That's how Google, if you ever use Google Maps to navigate to and from work or wherever, and that's how it knows how much traffic is in your route, is by all those devices in those vehicles, and they're slowing down on specific routes. So how many people are coming in and out of your business, if you have a physical location, is going to actually help you pull up more online. But the biggest thing is online reviews. So when collecting online reviews, you need to really focus on these 4 things, because these are the 4 things that really will help you more than anything on your online listing. You make sure that you have online reviews fairly recently, right? So recency is a big part. So not just that you got a whole bunch of reviews at one point and then you're done, but that, they're coming in fairly consistently and fairly recently. If people see and if Google sees that your last online review was left a month ago, and sometimes you'll see 3 months ago, sometimes a year ago, it's not going to be helping your cause at all. And then the next thing, right, you need to make sure those are coming in frequently. And then after you make sure that those 2 things are happening, right, that you have online reviews coming in fairly frequently, right, and fairly recently, you make sure they're good quality reviews. So not just that somebody went on and left you 5 stars and that's it, but that they actually typed out like a sentence or 2 saying, great business to work with, been using them for years, would recommend to everyone. Something as simple as that will help your search ranking a lot. And then obviously having a high quantity of reviews is extremely important. So here's some more stats on why online reviews matter. 91% of consumers regularly or occasionally read online reviews. So that just shows you that most people know what online reviews are and are looking at them fairly regularly. 7% of consumers won't consider a business with a 1 to 2 star rating. So I even have an updated thing on this stat. Most consumers will not consider a business as a rating lower than 3.3 stars. So if you go on right now and you look at your online reviews, on Google, on Facebook, on Yelp, or on some specific site that might be just specific to your geographic region, those consumers won't consider you if you're below a 3.3 star rating. And I even say if you're anywhere below 4 stars, because most people are getting a handle now on their online reviews and know that they're important. And so if you see that you're below 4 stars, there's a big chance that you're not going to pull up in searches, and that you're just not going to, people aren't just going to choose you once they see that, because most of your competitors will have a higher star rating than that. And then 78% of consumers say positive reviews make them trust the local business more, and that's pretty obvious, right? Now, reviews influence the entire customer journey. Like I said, people aren't just using reviews as far as making a decision, right? So let's work backwards on this. So 90% of consumers say online reviews have an impact on their purchase decisions, right? That's right where they're making that decision, and that's pretty obvious, right? If for example, we've all been trained by Amazon to do this. If I'm looking at a product and I'm not sure if I want to buy it or not, the thing I'm going to do is look at those online reviews to help me make that decision. But a lot of things people don't know is that reviews for local businesses are affecting that entire journey. It helps them learn and just find your product. So 61% of buyers use online reviews to learn about new products. And then 84% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So helping you in that consideration phase. Now that's crazy, right? That 84% of people trust online reviews just as much as a personal recommendation. And one thing you'll notice if you download I can send you this. If you go to podium.com and download our State of Online Reviews report, there's a lot more in-depth information about this. But you'll notice that the rising generation, right, millennials, the ones who are actually buying homes, that are moving around a lot of your potential customers, they're the ones using online reviews more than anyone else. And that's only become an increasing trend. And the reason why that's so important is because that percentage is much higher for them. A lot of them trust online reviews more than personal recommendations. And so why would that be true? Why would you ever trust somebody online, some random person you don't know, rather than somebody you personally know and trust? Well, the reason why is a lot of people will see that the opinion of a mass amount of people, right, of a lot of people, of a crowd opinion, is more true than a single person's experience. The reason why, because that one person had a single experience, right? They moved that one time and it was good for them. Whereas hundreds of people had hundreds of different experiences, hundreds of different views, and so the mass opinion is going to help them know whether or not they can trust a company. All right, so now I've talked a lot, and I don't want to beat a dead horse about why online reviews are so important, right? And that's going to help you pull up in those local searches when people, if it comes time that when they need you, right, and they say, what is the best moving and storage company near me, or best moving service near me, or whatever, you want to make sure you're pulling up, and that's so important, right? And then once they go on to your page and see your reviews, it's obviously important that you have a lot of good reviews so that they choose you. But what can you actually do to make sure you're getting online reviews, and not just getting, a whole bunch of online reviews, but getting good ones? So here are the tips to help your business collect hundreds, and I'm not making that number up, hundreds of new reviews. We have Podium customers, and this is not a plug for Podium, but that have 10,000 reviews at this point because of these following these tips that I'm about to go. And these aren't things you have to purchase a product for. These are things that you can do on your own. So step number 1, determine the right timing of the invitation. Now, before this step, I should have a step 0, which should be you got to invite people to leave you a review, right? People don't do anything unless they're asked. But when's the right timing to ask that person to leave you a review? And what channel are you going to ask that review through? So, for example, if I'm a moving and storage business, a bad time would be to ask for a review before you've done the service, obviously, right? Another bad time would be 2 weeks after the service is concluded because people aren't thinking about it. So when's the best timing to ask that review? Well, for a brick and mortar location, let's say if I was a tire shop, the best time would be right after the tires were installed and they paid, but they're still in the shop, right? That would be the best time because that's right when it's top of mind. They're very happy because the service has just been rendered. So in your specific industry, it'd be probably right after the move was concluded, but before you've left the premises. So, right after you've unloaded the furniture and put it into the house or moved it into their storage unit or whatever, that's the best time because it's top of mind. They're very happy about the experience they just had. You just solved the problem that they've been trying to solve. And then they're not doing anything else. They're not thinking about anything else. So they're more likely to actually leave you an online review. Step 2 is you got to eliminate barriers, right? So there's a rule in marketing, and this actually affects how many people you're going to get to come to your website or anything like that if you're looking for just new business. But a rule in marketing is the more steps somebody has to take, the less likely they are to do that thing, right? So for example, with your Google My Business listing, that's why it's so important you're managing that, because people will see that before even they go to your website, right? So if you can get them to take an action to contact you straight from that rather than having to click through additional, places and go to your contact page after they've already gone to your homepage or website, the less likely they are to do that. So making sure you're taking care of that Google My Business listing is important. But how does this, affect how to get online reviews? Well, making sure that somebody doesn't have to do simple things like a barrier would be logging into their Google account, right? If you ask them to leave you an online review on Google and they have to go sign in and type in a physical password, that makes it a lot less likely. If you give them a card saying, hope you had a 5-star experience, come leave us a review here with a URL on it, and somebody has to go to their desktop and physically type in a URL they see on a card, they're not very likely to do that unless they're extremely highly motivated. And I really doubt you'll get very many reviews that way. So how can you eliminate those barriers? Well, you need to make sure you have a frictionless process for both, not just your customers, but also your employees that makes it so ridiculously easy for them to send and leave reviews that they'll actually do it, right? It's like going to the gym. If I have to wake up every morning and go find my clothes, go find my keys, get out of my nice warm bed to go to the gym, I'm not going to do it. But how will I do it? Well, if I get everything ready the morning before, where all I have to do, right, I put my phone on the other side of the room, it goes off, so that takes away the barrier of getting on my bed because I got to turn off the dang phone. My clothes are right there ready to go. I hop into them, and then let's say I don't even go to the gym. Let's just say I go running outside, and that's a good way to get exercise. Those are ways to eliminate barriers, so you got to find a way to do that for your customers to make it so easy that they can leave you on their review so they don't hit those barriers. So step 3, you got to set the expectation for the review, right? So let's say you even ask them to leave your review and you do it at the right timing. If they get an email from you or a text message and they have no idea what it is, they're not very likely to actually leave your review. So you really got to set that expectation, and you got to make sure you follow 3 steps. You got to let them know when they're going to receive that invite, right? So you'll say, hey, shortly after you leave here, or, hey, once your tires are done, you're going to get a text message from us. So, let them know how they're going to receive it. You'll get a review invitation from us in this text message. If you could go click on that link and leave us a review, it's really easy, but it matters a lot to us and really helps us, find new customers and build our business. We really appreciate it. People are empathetic, so if you let them know why it's important for them to respond, they're that much more likely to actually do it. All right, step number 4, you got to target the right review site. So you can, ask people to leave your reviews all day. You can do it through whatever channel. You can have whatever tool. But if you start getting reviews on the wrong place, it's not going to help you, right? So where should you be getting online reviews? Well, I've been talking about Google all day and then being a dead horse. So obviously you need first to get reviews on Google because of how much it's going to help you with your online presence, right? Helping you get found if people are doing those searches. Next is to do it on Facebook, right? That's another big marketplace. And actually, the Facebook marketplace is one of the number one places that people, for example, buy cars these days. So making sure that you're also on Facebook is really important because people find you on Facebook more often than you think. And then obviously there's some of those savvy customers that really know what they're doing, and they've been doing a ridiculous amount of research, way more than necessary. And so, if you have people like that you really want to satisfy, and you already do have a good amount of reviews and a high quality reviews on Google and Facebook, well, then a couple other places that you could do would be, places like Angie's List, the BBB, Consumer Affairs, Yellow Pages, things like that. Just making sure you don't necessarily in those places need to have a crazy high amount of reviews with like a crazy good amount of content, but just making sure you at least have 5 stars on some of those smaller review sites is really important, just to make sure if somebody happens to find you on one of those that you don't look bad. All right, step number 5. This one's pretty obvious, but you need to deliver high quality service, right? If you can get people to leave you online reviews all day, but if you don't have good quality service, they're obviously not going to have a good time. So 66% of consumers said they will switch companies if they have a bad experience. So making sure you're taking care of them. All right, step 6, you need to send that invitation to leave you online review via text. Why? All right, well, let's do a little thing here. Everyone should go on their phone right now and tell me how many unread text messages do you have on your phone? Now go into your email and look at how many unread emails do you have. So I'll do this right now. I don't have any unread text messages, but I have currently 20 unread emails and then another 50 in another email inbox. So if you're sending out an invitation via email, how do you think they're likely to see it rather than through a text message? For example, my director, he loves to show me this, and it gives me a heart attack every time. I'm a little OCD sometimes, so I have a hard time leaving things unopened. But he has 50,000 unread emails. Do you think if you're sending him an email to leave you an online review, he's going to see it? Probably not, right? But if you send him a text, he's a lot more likely to see it. He has, maybe 5 or 6 unread text messages, a whole lot more than I would ever have, but he has them. So text messages have an open rate of 99%. A good email open rate would be like 20%. 90% of which are open within the first 3 minutes of receipt. So I can't tell you how powerful text messaging is. And if you have any questions about how to implement that, I have a lot of good tips for that too. All right, and then step 7, and this is a little bit of a plug for Podium, but you need to use an online review management tool that works best for your business. So why? Well, those last 6 tips I just told you are obviously all things you can do on your own, right? And hopefully by now you understand that you really need to be focusing on your online reviews if you want to get more business. But it's something that it can be kind of cumbersome. It's hard to text customers from a single phone number. You don't really want to put your own phone number out there. That can be a real pain, having especially if some angry customer gets a hold of that and is just constantly texting you and you have to deal with this. I mean, you're a business owner. You have a lot more important things to do. If you're a manager or whatever, like, you have way more important things to be doing than trying to worry about your online presence to get more customers in it. And if you're lucky enough to have like a big marketing team that can try to handle this, that's great. But if you don't, it's something that's not very easy, and it's not a great use of time for a single person to be trying to managing all this. So using an online review management tool like Podium can really make this whole thing a lot easier. Like I said, we have so many customers getting thousands of reviews. We've been in the moving and storage space for a long time, helping a lot of people manage their online reputation. We'd love the chance to help you with that. If you do decide that, hey, this is something I want to try out, Podium sounds like something I want to learn more about, and if they could really help me get this many online reviews, and if it's really going to help my business this much, go ahead and reach out to us. You can go to podium.com and watch our demonstration just to see how it works. But if you do get a hold of somebody and you do think you want to make a purchase, as an added bonus for participating in this webinar today, we have this promo code for you, Podium18. Just tell your sales rep that code and they'll get you a nice discount off of our services. So with that being said, I'll open up to Q&A. Let's go through and see all these questions we got here and then start answering them for you. Let's see here. Okay, first question. What should I do if I receive a negative review? That's a great question. Well, if you've ever gotten a negative review, and I'm sure you have because everyone's human, you might be thinking it's the end of the world. If you get a negative review, you might be thinking, crap, this person just said this online where everyone can see. It's not even true. It's something that was completely out of my control. That can be really frustrating. What you need to understand, though, is that getting a negative review isn't a bad thing. Why is getting a negative review not a bad thing? Why? Because let's say, for example, you never had any negative reviews. Let's say you got 500 5-star reviews on your site. If somebody searching online sees 500 5-star reviews on your site and not a single negative review, they're going to think that's kind of fake and fishy, right? People are smart. They know better. So having a negative review just makes you look legitimate as a business, right? People understand that people aren't always, going to be happy. You can't please everyone. Now, how do you handle that actual negative review you get online, right? So step one is you want to make sure whoever was involved with that negative review is kind of removed from the situation. So if you have a specific, rep or somebody who happened to be in that situation, you want to take them out of the equation and handle it yourself or have somebody else handle it. The worst thing you could absolutely do is get in an argument online about something, whether they're telling the truth or not, because you need to think the response you're getting on there isn't just going to be seen by that one person, but it's going to be seen by everyone that looks up your business online. So making sure you're taking care of that with somebody who's not emotionally involved is really important. So the next step is, obviously I kind of just already said this, but you need to make sure you respond to that person. It's not good just to leave those things untouched. It doesn't look good on you. People need to know that if they have issues that you're going to try to handle it, right? So saying something simple like, we're sorry that he had that experience. You don't really necessarily want to admit fault, but say, hey, we're sorry you had that experience. Here's this number. Reach out to me, and I'll talk to you personally, or we have this specific person that will help try to resolve the situation. That's going to help things so much, because people are going to see as they come search your business, hey, this person had a problem. Like, things didn't go perfectly like they might have planned, but hey, this business took care of it. I've had situations like this. And the other awesome thing about that is people can go back on and change their online reviews. So if they left you an online review that was negative and it was a simple mistake or something that you're able to fix, they can go back on there and change it and say, hey, at first I left them a bad review because this happened, but you know what? They saw my bad review and they came on and they fixed it for me. That's something that people are really going to appreciate. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's see here. Got another question about text messaging. So what will happen if somebody responds to that text message invitation rather than leaving a review? So that's true. So let's say you're a Podium customer and you use Podium and you send out a text message invitation to get somebody to leave you an online review and they respond to it. That's something that, within Podium you can manage that conversation. And text messaging is an awesome channel to just communicate with your customers on a regular basis, right? There's this thing, and we can tell you a little bit more about this, called Google Click to Chat, where on that Google My Business page, somebody can message you directly through text message, and they won't ever have to even go to a website or find some live chat tool or anything like that. And then the nice thing about that is that then you have their information, and that can be a potential lead for you. And since they came in and they made the inquiry, you're allowed to text them as much as you want. So that's a great revenue building thing. So making sure that you can communicate with your potential customers via text message is an awesome thing. All right, then here's another follow-up question to that. So how can I ensure that I'm not violating my customers' privacy by texting them? So that's true. So texting does fall under something called a TCPA law, which is part of that Can-Spam Act, where you're not allowed really to just send out blast text messages to your whole customer base. And that's something I do not recommend. Now, the nice thing about this is everything I've mentioned today is completely compliant with TCPA laws. If you use Podium, we are 100% TCPA compliant. You can't really violate that law if you're using our product. So the nice thing about that, is that you don't have to worry about it. But So as far as like violating customers' privacy, I'd say just make sure, sending a text message invite for review isn't going to violate their policy because it's transactional information. So since they've made a purchase with you, you're allowed to text them that. The one thing I wouldn't do is send out a giant text message saying, hey, come, if you use our services today, or if you book a storage unit or whatever, it's 20% off with this coupon code. I wouldn't send out that in a mass email text message. I mean, there is a good way to do text message marketing, and you can do something like that, but you need to make sure you have them on a separate, subscribed opt-in list for email marketing. For text message marketing, excuse me. Okay, I'll answer, I think, one more question, unless anyone's got a burning question that they really want answered. But this question right here is, does Podium integrate with other software? So yes, so let's say you already have a customer management system and you don't want to have to learn another software, or let's say you're just so crazy busy, that's going to be hard for you to get people to leave you online reviews and manually send out those invites through a software or whatever. Yeah, Podium does integrate with customer management system software. Whether integrates with yours or not, it just depends. Just so you can follow with me on a one-to-one basis. But the nice thing about that is that you can automatically have those invitations go out through your review software, through your software that you're already using, by that simply being triggered, and then that's completely automated. You don't have to think about it. So if you're really that busy, that's a great thing to do. Okay, looks like we are good to go. Again, if you have any other questions, you can email me directly at taylor.cutler@podium.com. If you're interested in Podium service specifically, you can go to podium.com. But thanks for joining me today. We'll be trying to send out this recording, so if you had to step out and you missed part, we can send that to you. Or if you have anyone you'd like to share with, we can send you the recording as well. So thanks for joining me today, and take care, everyone.